Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S66052 Penguin Puzzle, Chapter 1. I ran into Miss Friezel's classroom in a big rush. I didn't want to be late that day. Phoebe, watch out, Carlos yelled at me. I froze in my footstep. Then I looked up. Big paper eagle was dangling right over my head. Yikes, I screamed. Carlos was holding onto the eagle by a string. He was trying to hang it from the ceiling, but the eagle was bouncing up and down. It looked as if it wanted to pounce on me and eat me up. Wow, Carlos, I said, that's some bird. It's a bald eagle, Carlos said proudly. It used to be endangered, but now we are in danger. Dorothy Ann interrupted him, joking about the size of a Carlos project. Oh, you are just jealous, DA, Carlos said. My eagle is 10 times bigger than your robin. I'm not jealous, DA answered. I just think all the birds we are studying are amazing. Just then Miss Frizzle came rushing into the room. She ducked in time to miss Carlos' eagle. Its claws just grazed the top of her curly red hair. Good morning, class, the Freeze said. I see you all have your bird projects here now. Before you deliver your reports, let's go on a little field trip. Uh-oh, Arnold said. I think I should have stayed home today. Every pair of eyes in the room stared at Miss Frizzle's dress. We had never seen this dress before. It was mostly blue, with birds flying all over it. Miss Frizzle, the dress is for the birds. We all groaned. We thought the Carlos's jokes were for the birds. Are we going bird watching, Miss Frizzle? Tim asked. Not just yet. First, I want you to meet someone. I started to wriggle with excitement. This was what I had been waiting for. Phoebe, would you bring in our guest? I ran to the door, and my Uncle Cecil Bird was waiting. He's a little shy like me. I grabbed hold of his arm and pulled him inside the room. Everyone, I said proudly, this is my Uncle Cecil. Uncle Cecil stood in front of the class beside me. He had his bird-watching binoculars around his neck, with his long legs and pointy nose. I guess he looked a little like a stork. Good eye, mate, Uncle Cecil said. Call me Cecil. Uncle Cecil is from Australia and has a neat accent. Good eye, Cecil, the kid said back with a few giggles. We're doing a project on birds, Miss Frizzle explained. Righto, Uncle said. Who can tell me what a bird is? DA jumped up before anyone else had a chance to let out a peep. According to my research, she began, all birds share these characteristics. Birds are animals that have feathers. They lay eggs in nests and keep the eggs warm until the young birds hatch. Birds are warm-blooded and most birds fly, but not all. You know the bird brain. Uncle Cecil told DA with a wink. That was an excellent report. We are studying birds from all around the world, Ralphie said. Uncle Cecil is only the largest. That's someone who studies birds. My favorite bird is the penguin, Uncle Cecil said. I've been to Antarctica twice to study them. That's not to be confused with the Arctic. That's in the north, and no penguins are there. Cool, Carlos said. Cold, actually, Uncle Cecil corrected him. Really, really cold. How can birds survive in such a cold place? Wanda asked. They wear snowsuits, Arnold blurted out. It may look as if penguins wear suits, Uncle Cecil said, but those are really feathers. Penguins' feathers can keep out freezing cold and winds that would turn humans into ice. We aren't going to Antarctica, are we, Miss Frizzle? Arnold asked nervously. No, Arnold, we are just going to a bird sanctuary. Miss Frizzle, since the weather is turning cold, a lot of birds are migrating. It's a great time to watch for birds. Miss Frizzle pulled out a pair of binoculars from a big box on her desk. Look, I have a pair of binoculars for each of you. They are great for nature watching. We each took a pair of binoculars and hung them around our necks. Then we grabbed our coats and backpacks. Miss Frizzle told us to bundle up. Then she grabbed Liz and headed for the bus. I noticed that Uncle Cecil was still carrying his briefcase. He takes it everywhere with him. I checked out the sign on it. It read, "Keep out. This means you." Uncle Cecil, I asked, "What is in there? It's top secret." Phoebe, Cecil whispered, "Top secret? You mean you can't tell even me?" I asked, "Not now," Cecil said, "maybe later." We piled inside the magic school bus. Little did we know what would happen next. Chapter 2. Magic school bus was chugging along the road. All of us kids had our binoculars out. We were staring at everything we passed: trees, birds, even people in cars. I was sitting next to Uncle Cecil. We were right behind Miss Frizzle, who was driving the bus. I noticed that Uncle Cecil was holding his briefcase very carefully in his lap. "Uncle Cecil," I whispered, "can't you tell me what's—" I was interrupted by a shout from Ralphie in back of us. "Stop that, Dorothy Ann." Dorothy Ann was examining Ralphie through her binoculars. "But Ralphie," she said, "you're such an interesting specimen." "I'm not a specimen," Ralphie protested. "I am a human." "Well, almost," DA said, rolling her eyes. Just then, Miss Frizzle asked Uncle Cecil a question. They began talking about migration pattern and other things that were way over my head. I started to squirm in my seat. It was really getting hot in the bath. We all bundled up in our winter coats. "I'm hot," Arnold complained. He was sitting in the first seat across the aisle. "Me too. This bus feels like an oven." "Miss Frizzle, can we turn on the air conditioning?" Oh, Miss Frizzle was too wrapped up in driving and talking to Uncle Cecil. She didn't hear a word Arnold said. "Hey, Phoebe," Arnold said, "can you reach the air conditioning button on the dashboard?" I looked at the dashboard of the magic school bus. There were lots of strange buttons, but one was red with a silver icicle on it. "I don't think we should touch anything without asking Miss Frizzle first," I told Arnold. "Well, I'm toasting like a marshmallow," Arnold said. "I've got to do something." Arnold reached out his hand and pushed hard on the red button with the icicle. I saw Liz try to stop him with a flick of her tail. Miss Frizzle must have seen him out of the corner of her eye because she shouted, "Arnold, no!" But it was too late. "What did I do?" Arnold yelled as the magic school bus started to shake and change its shape. "You hit the big chill button," Miss Frizzle answered. Her voice sounded strained. Her eyes were fixed on the dashboard as it changed into something with all kinds of dials and flashing lights. I knew I had seen that before. Magic school bus was turning into the magic school jet. "What is happening? Where are we going?" I asked the freeze, but my voice was drowned out by the roar of the engine. Signal signs began to flash on the screens over our seat. The roar of the engines got louder. Suddenly we were pressed back into our seats by the force of the jet's acceleration. I looked out the window and saw the ground whizzing by. The magic school jet was taxiing for takeoff. Uncle Cecil tightened his seat belt and checked mine. I noticed that he looked a little flustered. After all, this was his first field trip on the magic school bus. "At least it's cooler in here." "Don't worry, Arnold," Miss Frizzle said. "You'll be plenty cool soon." I noticed that familiar twinkle in her eyes, but that wasn't all I noticed. "Arnold, look," I said. Her dress changed. We both stared at Miss Frizzle's dress. It was still mostly blue, but most of the birds had disappeared from the sky. There were a bunch of birds on what looked like eyes. When I looked closely, I could tell they were penguins. Miss Frizzle, Arnold asked nervously, "Where are we going?" Just then, the jet took off. Soon, we were cruising high above the clouds. Miss Frizzle flicked on the automatic pilot and then stood up to face the class. "Thanks, Arnold. We have just changed our plans for this field trip. Once you press the big chill button, there is no turning back. We are on an express flight to Antarctica, the big chill at the bottom of the world." "Antarctica?" at least 10 voices said at once. "I think it's time for a geography lesson," the freezer announced. She popped open an overhead compartment and pulled out a big world globe. Liz jumped onto the globe, pointed to Antarctica with her tail. "We're heading south," Miss Frizzle said. "All the way south?" "Hey, look out the window," Carlos yelled. "I think we're over a rainforest now." We all leaned over to the windows to see. Below us was the velvety green carpet of trees. It seemed to go on forever. Miss Frizzle pointed to Brazil on the globe. "You must be right about here, just above the Amazon rainforest." Dorothy Ann was busy with her calculator. According to my calculation," she announced, "we have gone over the equator." "You're right, DA," Miss Frizzle said. "Now we are in the southern hemisphere, and it's not winter here, it is summer." "If it's summer in Antarctica," I asked my uncle, "does that mean the whole place will melt?" "Jolly good question, Phoebe," Uncle Cecil said, "but the answer is no. Even in the summer, Antarctica is freezing. In fact, if Antarctica melted, there would be so much water that the whole world would be flooded." "How many minutes until we get to Antarctica?" Ralphie asked. "I want to see some penguins." "It won't be long," Miss Frizzle answered. "Meanwhile, let's get ready." She pressed a button on the jet's control panel. A second later, the compartments over our seats popped open. Orange packages fell into each of our laps. "Start preparing on your expedition gear," the freeze ordered. "It may be summer in Antarctica, but you still need to bundle up. They don't call it the big chill for nothing." The end.